Hello, Just Too Good here, back for another review, and today we're reviewing our first LEGO Elves 2015 set. It's set number 41076. It's called Farran and the Crystal Hollow. Has 175 pieces, one mini doll, and it retails for $15 in the United States. I got mine from Amazon, and now let's take a look at the mini doll. And here is a Farran mini doll. Keep in mind this guy is not exclusive to the set and also comes in the big, I think it's like the Treehouse set for the Elves March 2015 wave, but he has some great printing on him and even a new molding piece altogether for his hair. And he uses Santa's bag from the Series 8 collectible minifigures and this little 1x1 green tile piece right there, which is circular. You can see his legs, which he has a little bit of baggy pants, his torso, which is pretty cool, and he also has some tattoo printing. And then his face, he has kind of a smug look on his face, and also a little bit of a green strike right there. And his hairpiece is a very cool piece. I like the molding for that. It's a little bit like Kai's hair, but with elf ears, because, you know, the elf theme is full of elf ears. My only downside is the quality of mine in particular, because it is actually extremely loose on the minifigure and doesn't fit whatsoever. So look, it just kind of falls off like that. So I'm kind of disappointed with that, but I'm sure that's just an isolated incident, and I hope it doesn't affect anybody else. But for those who don't like this theme because, you know, the hair, I guess, has some peach little elf ears or something like that, you could easily fit them and make them fit in other themes. For example, I'm using this little Lord of the Rings elf, or sorry, the Hobbit elf, and it looks great on the elf. So you could definitely put that in some Middle-earth settings or even your fantasy settings if you use some peach-colored minifigures. And I love how that came out overall, and now let's go on to the set itself. Alright, so here is the Crystal Hollow and the little platform, which are the only other two builds of the set besides the minifigure. And I have to say, I'm really impressed with this set in terms of the price and the design of this, because there's some great pieces in here, and the overall design is pretty cool looking. It's very different, but cool looking. And we'll take a look at the smallest build first, which is just this little catapult platform, or a platform for the catapult included in the set. And there's a little bit of a taste of what's to come with the bigger build of the set, because you have this little miniature lavender branch right here, which looks great. And there's like about, I think, 4 or 3 other ones on the bigger build. And also you have this little squirrel right here, and the squirrel has some cool marking on him, which he is exclusive to the set in terms of printing, and he is the molding from the LEGO Friends line. So that's pretty cute, and he just kind of sticks there on that 1x1 jumper plate. And once you turn around, you can see that there is this little catapult right here, which uses these mini domes as ammunition. There's actually a cool place to store your ammunition inside this part, where if you pull this little lever right here, it reveals a little carriage or a little basket to store ammunition. So you just kind of load that in here, and you push on the catapult, and there you go, the ammunition goes flying. So that's really cool. And going past that little build, we will move on to the bigger build. And here is the bigger build, which is the Crystal Hollow, and there's a lot of cool pieces here. You can see just by a quick look at it, there's these little branches which were found on the miniature build in that lavender color, which is great. A big branch piece in a dark purple color, which looks fantastic. I love how that came out. Also some nice little 5-point crystals, which we've seen before, but they're a little bit more uncommon nowadays. A nice printed little map right here, which does come in a few other sets, but it's still a very nice printed piece to get. I like how that piece came out. And my favorite new piece, which is right here, and one of the only new moldings in this set, and it is a 6-point flower. And this is so cool because they kind of updated the flower mold in a sense. Remember the old one where it was 3 points and it was on a receiving stud? Well, this one is better because it's much more stable, and they use a harder plastic, and also uses a peg instead of a receiving stud, so it fits on, or it stays on parts more. And you can see you could fit up to 6 little blossoms right there. And once you take all that out, it even has a cool look to it. You can see you could probably use that for shrubbery and other kind of plant detailing in your mocks. And I love how that came out, so that's really cool. And I'm just going to put that back on there, even though I really de-blossomed it. And looking at the rest of the sets, there's this little play feature right here where if you push this, it reveals a little key, and the keys are, I think, the main part of the Elves lineup, whereas it seems from just the early story rumors And this is a new mold, and it's the cheapest way to get this mold, actually, because this mold doesn't come in any set cheaper than this. Unfortunately, it doesn't even come in the Elves set cheaper than this, so it's still really cool to get. And also, I believe the Lime one so far is exclusive to the set, but it might come in the Big Castle set for summer 2015. So you put that back in, and you could kind of hide it again. Also nice to get those 1x2 bricks in those trans green colors. You got a trans neon green and a trans dark green, which I don't think we've ever gotten those in trans neon or dark green before. On the side right here, we got a little lantern, and on this back part, we got a miniature ugly rock piece, as people call it, in kind of a trans light blue color or trans blue color. And on the side, you have that little part where you fit this little map, and also a little bottle for, I guess, maybe they drink rum or something, I don't know. And on the top of that whole build, there's actually a space to put something, but they don't really put anything in there, which is kind of an interesting choice. And there's not much else going on the total top. And also, I forgot, but you could also kind of position these parts right here if you want to kind of make the effect of the crystal hollow opening. So that's really cool. I like how all that comes out. And that's it for this build. And now let's go on to the box, then we'll take a look at the final verdict. Alright, so here is the box for a set. You can see all the great detail right there. I guess I've kind of grown on the box designs, which look very clustered, but they still look pretty cool, I guess, because they have a lot of detail going on. Also, 2 instruction booklets, one of which shows you kind of a map of the whole Elves setup. And also, they have a pretty cool design on the back of that right there. So now let's go on to the final verdict. I'm really digging this set. I think this is a great way to start the Elves theme, and it's definitely one of the best sets I got so far of this year. There's some awesome pieces in this set in terms of colors. You got some great new branch colors, which you got those little miniature branches in lavender, the big branch in dark purple, also those 1x2 trans green bricks, which we haven't gotten before, and also some nice printed pieces like Farran and this printed squirrel, and also that little tile pieces right there, and that 2x2 map. And my favorite part is actually this 6-sided little flower right there, which is a new molding altogether for the Elf theme, and doesn't come in too many of the sets, or as much sets as I would want it to come in, because it doesn't come in the cheapest one. And also a new molding for that key piece and for Farran's hair. All that stuff just makes it such a great set, and then the price for $15 for 175 pieces, and the build itself feels like a $20 set build. Yeah, count me in. I might even buy another one of these just for the pieces alone. My only flaws are very minor flaws, which make it not a perfect set. Like Farran, I wish I would have got an exclusive one of him instead of, the same one that comes in the $60 sets. I wish I would have put, a different version in this set because it would have added a little bit more exclusivity to this set. And I guess the top of the tree looks a little bit weak when it gets to like this center area, which has nothing inside, and this top area. But the branches kind of make up for that, so I'm kind of fine with that. So I would rate this set an A. I think it's a great value for your money and one of the best values this year. I mean, dang, the $15 sets this year kick so much butt. You got this set, the double-decker couch. Oh my gosh. So that's it for now. Stay tuned for more Elves and Pirates sets reviews, and I'll see you guys all later. Bye.